What's up YouTube, Dal here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you an update to Yubel. That's right, I'm going to take you through an updated Yubel profile involving the Unchained card so you can get a little bit more interaction during your opponent's turn, as well as being able to build up much stronger boards and be as competitive as possible. I'll also show you a demo side deck at the end of the video as well, so you can kind of get an idea of what you might want to be looking for in order to deal with some of the format cards or format decks that we are going to be coming into. If you do want to see more from the Yubel deck, make sure you get the video above 50 likes in the first 24 hours. I do have Kyron standing by with an Elemental Hero version, which screams OG nostalgia with Jaden GX, and of course the mixture with Yubel as well. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. I'm now going to take you through the profile, show you exactly everything we've got and exactly what it can get you to, and then of course take you through everything in as much detail as possible. So we're going to be starting off with, of course, the OG Yubel and its full transformation line going into Terra Incarnate and, of course, the Ultimate Nightmare. Now, arguably, you could take the Ultimate Nightmare out if you wanted to, purely because it's one of the ones that comes up least and it is the probably biggest brick, because there's ways of being able to get into Terra Incarnate very easily, being able to go round and round as you need to, and you're going to be looping your main Yubel quite a few times. So the Terra Incarnate or the Ultimate Nightmare is obviously down to personal preference. Whether you want to play it or not is entirely up to you, but I do still like keeping the theme in this deck as it is. It is a 42 card deck, so it's one of the very easy flex spots that you can cut out should you wish. Then, of course, we do have the brand new Spirit of Yubel. This card's just an absolutely amazing addition to the deck. All of the new support cards are, to be completely honest with you. This one being able to special summon itself down during the battle phase when your opponent attacks you. And then not only that, but being able to search out what is probably the best spell card for this deck that is Yubel specific, because obviously Yubel is probably the best spell card. But Nightmare Pain is just absolutely insane. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on when we get to it. Then, of course, the best normal summon for the Spirit or the Yubel side of this deck is, of course, Samsara D Lotus. The best normal summon of this version of the deck is, of course, Dark Beckoning Beast. But if you open up both of these, you are opening up near enough maximum combo. It's absolutely insane what the two of these can do, because Dark Beckoning gives you an additional normal summon of Lotus, which is really, really important. And then the last Yubel-esque monster we are playing is the one Geist Grinder Golem. Just being able to give this to your opponent and then special summon out your Spirit of Yubel your first turn. Not to mention, if you do this going second and you just attack into the Grinder Golem, it really gives your opponent like very few options to be able to deal with anything. Because if you're smashing your original Yubel and Spirit of Yubel into the Geist Grinder Golem, you're going to gain 6,000 attack and 6,000 life points, and your opponent's going to take 6,000 damage. Puts them well within the train territory of Gustav Max. And then for the Yubel spells, of course, we are playing triple Nightmare Pain. This card's absolutely amazing, and I love the artwork on this one as well. I think it's so menacing, and I love the mixture of colours with the green and the blues and the purples and everything. It just looks really nice. So the fact that you can use this during your main phase to destroy a dark monster on the field, or handle field, your side of course, this will then allow you to add a Yubel or a card that mentions it. It just gives you consistent resource of being able to constantly get to everything you need, while also triggering additional effects of the stuff like your Spirit of Yubel to get you to original Yubel, or destroying original Yubel to get into your Terra Incarnate as well. We are playing the one Mature Chronicle. Now, massive to shout out to Gilgamesh, who actually left a comment on the previous Yubel video where they were talking about the 2-card combo that allowed them to get this to 5 counters to search out Super Poly turn 1, which is really cool. You do have to jump through a couple of hoops in order to do so, but in doing that, being able to search out Super Poly is absolutely insane. Because not to mention is, probably by the chance you go through Mature Chronicle, you might have already gone through an Eternal Favourite as well. So you're sitting on an Eternal Favourite and a Super Poly. Now, to me, Super Poly is obviously a step up on Eternal Favourite for the pure fact that Super Poly, your opponent can't respond. So you really do mean that they've got no way of stopping them losing their entire board, or all but one monster, so that you can go into your Yubel, the Loving Defender, forever. And then, of course, we are playing the one Eternal Favourite. The reason I've cut this down to 1 in this version and not at 2 is for the pure fact that when you're playing the Unchained cards, you're actually pretty much covering just as much disruption, and you're being a little bit faster and a little bit more aggressive. So you shouldn't ever really need to go through 2 of these, especially when you're still sitting on Super Poly as well. Keeping in mind that this one specifically requires you to use exactly Yubel, and it does require you to discard a card to send this card to the graveyard. Yes, it allows you to fusion summon a fusion monster from the extra deck using monsters from either field as material, which is really nice, and it does include the Yubel, but you're probably more times than not going to want to go into the Loving Defender, which is exactly what Super Poly can do for you as well. But the fact of the matter is this requires a Yubel monster, so it's not as restrictive with Super Poly as it is with Eternal Favourite, and like I said before, your opponent can't respond to Super Poly, but they can respond to this, sadly. Then for the Unchained cards, of course, we are playing the one Abominable Chamber, the one Shavara, and the one Shyama. Now, If you wanted to minimize this engine, you can very easily just play the one Shayama, but I wanted to still play the Shavara and the Abominable Chamber just for the ability to still get me into the Triple D High Wave King Caesar, because I think it's such an incredibly powerful boss monster to deal with, and being able to kind of negate your opponent's card effects or certain card effects like twice per turn can be really annoying. Not to mention on top of that as well, that if they do get past it, or even if you decide to use your Unchained Soul of Rage first, linking off of one of their cards, going into a SP Little Knight, you're just gaining so much more advantage over more and more cards that your opponent is putting onto the board, and it's really, really kind of cool. And then probably the best normal summon of the entire deck is, of course, your Dark Beckoning Beast. So the fact of the matter is that when this is normal summoned, you search yourself out the opening of the Spirit Gates, which not only gives you recursion effects for the graveyard, but also gives you free discard fodder, because you'd go Dark Beckoning into opening, opening searches you out Dark Beckoning, so that's your free discard fodder. If you do it the other way around and you go from opening into Dark Beckoning, normal to Dark Beckoning, search out a second opening, the second opening then becomes your free discard fodder. Not to mention that this can recycle a continuous spell card from the graveyard to the hand, which is really nice if you control a level 10 monster, which Yubel is very nicely. On top of that as well, you can just discard any card to special summon a fiend with 0 attack and defense from the graveyard, so that's how you're going to be able to loop your resource. When you're opening up something like Dark Beckoning, the fact that it gives you an additional normal summon of a fiend with 0/0, like I said, means that you could open it up with Samsara D Lotus, and you're going to be able to get both of these on the board, get all of the effects you could possibly imagine, and everything you can need to then get into your Unchained Soul, Lord Yama, which just requires 2 fiends, so nice and generic. Carrying on, we're just going to talk over the hand traps now. That these are all adaptive to your local environment. If some of your local environment feel or get hit by more specific hand traps than others, by all means choose to adapt them. So you've got Triple Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, pretty standard on that one. Alongside Triple Droll and Lockbird, I just feel that the format we're going into at a much higher competitive level, Droll is near enough a mainstay staple. And then, of course, we've got 2 DD Crow. I think this is a great card for this format, especially with stuff like Voiceless running around, obviously Fire Kings. Less so Yubel, which is quite nice as well. And as a preview, you can also play D-Shifter. And I know you're going to be like, what? You're playing the Unchained cards? Yes. But when you're going to the side deck, if you know your opponent or the format loses to not having no graveyard, your Yubels can play with a graveyard. So you can very easily go, okay, cool, I'll take out the 3 Unchained cards and put in 3 Shifters. Very easy swap. And then being able to shift to your opponent can pretty much nearly give you an auto win, which is insane. And then, of course, Triple Imperm. Like I said, it's a 42 card deck, so if you wanted to, you can take out the DD Crows, you can adapt them around as you see fit. For the board breakers and just general spell cards, of course, we've got Triple Super Poly. You have like the best Super Poly target of the entire game in the form of the Yubel Loving Defender. The fact that it just requires a Yubel monster and then as many effect monsters on the field as possible, it's insane. Yeah, okay, it's not, doesn't have any attack or anything. It's still going to burn your opponent, and then any attack you deal with, your opponent takes the damage of that monster, and then you banish it non-target as well, which is very, very nice. And then, of course, we've got Trill Pot of Prosperity. If you haven't got Pot of Prosperity, you can play Pure Rizzy map. But the reason I decided to go with Prosperity over the Pure Rizzy, yes, this does give you technically 6 copies of your Dark Beckoning Beast or 6 copies of your Samsara D Lotus. But the way I saw it is, Pot of Prosperity could be the exact same thing in the sense that I get to look at the top 6 and I can get either or. And if I've already got Samsara or the Dark Beckoning, I can get any other card in my entire deck. Yes, I only do half damage to my opponent, but I don't halve my own life points, making my opponent's job easier for them to finish it off. So, again, personal preference, you could very easily play Pure Rizzy map if you wanted to. Double True Tactic Talents, because you've already seen the amount of hand traps I'm playing, and that's pretty standard for what I'd expect to be coming up in the upcoming format. So being able to punish your opponent if they do droll you, ash you, or hand trap you in any way whatsoever is always going to be very, very useful. And then, of course, we do play the one Called by the Grave. I do feel that if you are massively worried about certain hand traps, which even in this deck, I don't think it's the end of the world. Like, Droll does suck a little bit. Imperm does kind of suck on the Samsara D Lotus. You could very easily play crossouts if you wanted to. Heck, you could even play Nibiru in the main deck. It really is up to you on your personal preference and what you feel you're going to be facing at your environment. You're going to know that better than I am. But this is just like a demo staple to show you, all right, these are the type of hand traps I'm playing in this format. Adapt it to as you see fit. Moving on to the extra deck, of course, we are playing 2 Yubel, the Loving Defender Forever. You could play 3 if you want to, but I wanted to kind of open up the options to have different kind of generic cards, just in case I couldn't get a Yubel on the board. I don't want my Super Polys to be dead. So, of course, we're playing the 1 Starving Venom, the 1 Garura, and the 1 Mud Dragon. All pretty straightforward and simple on that one, just being able to help you deal with the Fire King matchup and everything else. Then for the Unchained cards, we are playing 2 Unchained Soul Lord of Yama. This is what makes the Unchained synergy work so well, is the fact that it just requires 2 Fiends, so that's your Samsara D Lotus, or of course, you would tribute off the D Lotus to be correct to get the Spirit of Yubel, and you'd link off Spirit Yubel and of course your Dark Beckoning Beast to get into Yama, because you would have already gained advantage off the back. Or you Nightmare, pop Spirit, get original Yubel, then link it off. You get where I'm going for this. If this is special summoned, you get to add an Unchained monster from your deck or graveyard to the hand. If a card or cards you control is destroyed by battle or card effect while this card is in the graveyard, you get to banish this card to special summon a Fiend monster from the hand or graveyard, and then you can destroy 1 card on the field. So there is a combo, like I said, Gilgamesh, I'll talk you through it at the end of the video just so you can kind of see how it works. But the idea is that you would use this all up during your turn to search out the Super Poly. I do feel that the combo does go through too many loots and some of the resources you would probably rather keep for during your opponent's turn, but it's just kind of cool to search a Super Poly turn 1, basically. And then, of course, what you're going to be linking this off into with any other monster to get you into your Unchained Soul Rage, and you're going to use Rage to get you into your SP Little Knight. We're also playing the 1 Muckrocker. Of course, you are only playing Fiends, so being able to discard a card to then bring a Fiend back from the graveyard can start your combo off again. And then when you're going into stuff like your Unchained cards, you don't mind being Fiend locked. And I've got the 1 Relinquish Anima. This is a flexible. This could be anything you want. But it's like if your Samsara D Lotus gets negated and you haven't got a Dark Beckoning Beast, you then just link off into an Anima. Or if your opponent gets a little bit lazy and puts a card in the wrong zone, and trust me, I've done it a couple of times myself, you go into Relinquish Anima and then steal it, and then you're good to build off the back of it. Flexible, take it out, change it around as you see fit. Same with the Triple D High Wave King. If you're not playing both of the level 6s, you can very easily cut this out. It's not rare that you would go into this, but you have to go a very direct route in order to get to this. And in doing so, it does give you another line of protection, should you need to, and a line of protection through Nibiru. So it is something to keep an eye on. And then, of course, I've gone with the train. So we've got the 1 Super Dreadnought Cannon Juggernaut Yubel and the Gustav Max. Yubel, of course, is again down to personal preference. You don't have to play this in this one. I feel you have enough just with the 2 Yubel monsters and then your Gustav Max that you don't need to go into Yubel. But if your opponent's just got monsters that can negate or deal with the Yubel monsters, the idea is you go Gustav Max, burn for 2k, go into Yubel, detach material and attack as many times as you can to hopefully finish the game off that way. And then the final card, of course, is Typhoon, because all of your main deck monsters, or most of your main deck monsters, are 0/0. So being able to upgrade one of your Yubels into a Typhoon if you need to negate the board is very, very important. And it kind of turns a 0/0 into a 29/29, which is really cool. So that's it for the entire main deck. I'm now going to show you the side decks. You have a bit of a demo idea of exactly what you can play. So for the monsters, we've got Triple D Shifter. I feel that this upcoming format is going to be graveyard heavy. I feel we might even see the return of something like a Abyss Dweller, because a lot of cards are going to be trying to use destruction effects in the graveyard, like the Fire Kings and everything else, and of course Princess. Whereas if you take your opponent's graveyard away from them completely and you can still play without your graveyard, this is really, really kind of cool. Now, of course, there are a couple of different routes of play that will change. There are ways that you're able to bring back your original Yubel from the Banish Zone in the form of your Spirit of Yubel, because this allows you to special back from you special summon a Yubel that is banished, hand, deck, or graveyard. So you get to bring it back from pretty much wherever, which is the reason that this works with D Shifter. Of course, the Unchained cards don't. You can keep the Unchained cards in if you really, really wanted to and be like, right, okay, I'm going to shift on my opponent, control it, and then try and Unchain the next turn. But the idea is that even then, you still want to try and get into your Unchained Soul Shayama, and then you still want to link that off and go into the Rage. And you can still do that without even needing to worry about your graveyard. You can still do that under Shifter, which means you can still get into SP Little Knight during your opponent's turn, and you're still going to be able to Super Poly or just basically Yubel Contact Fuse with the Trap card during your opponent's turn. So you can still do all of that under Shifter, and it's basically once you resolve Eternal Favourite and under Shifter, all of their monsters are going to get banished. They get no resource back. And then if you leave one monster on the board, as long as it is enough monster for you to deal enough damage to your opponent, you're really going to cause them a lot of issues. The other monster that we are playing is the Fantastical Dragon Phantasme. You don't have to play this. This is just one of the ones where, again, I feel that if we're going to be going from stuff like Heater into Princess into the Amber Whale, you can very easily go into Phantasme, draw some cards, dig yourself into a Super Poly, help you break the board more consistently, get into DD Crows, everything else you might need, and then being able to give you some targeted protection can be very, very important. For the spell cards, of course, we've got the standard kind of package right now of double Lightning Storm and a single Duster. And then triple Cosmic Cyclone, again, this is down to my local environment. I feel there's a couple of floodgates that run around, stuff like Summon Limits, stuff like anti-spell fragrances and everything else. So you do kind of want to be able to deal with those where at all possible. And especially with stuff like the Fire King Field spell, Lightning Storm and Duster are not going to be any help to you if they've got Sanctuary, whereas Cosmic Cyclone is going to be much more helpful for you. And the last card is Evenly Matched, just because being able to blow out your opponent's entire board is absolutely insane. Yes, it's not the end of the world right now when we're going into this fire format, because they'll still have Princess to kind of loot back from the graveyard, and they'll still maintain some more resource. But just being able to evenly your opponent can still cause them huge amounts of issues, and definitely clears off the entire board and allows you to build your board up with less forms of interruption, so you can kind of successfully resolve your Yubel searches, board presence, and then finish off from there. So that's it for the entire main deck, and of course the side deck. I'm now going to take you through Gilgamesh's combo, just so you can kind of see how the combo works in order to search out Super Poly turn 1. I do think that the combo is really cool, which is why I wanted to show it to you. A massive shout out to Gilgamesh on that one, but I don't feel that it's as applicable as I might originally have liked it to be. So we'll be back in a second. So 2-card combo revolves around Dark Beckoning and of course Samsara the Lotus. So the idea is we're going to normal summon out the Dark Beckoning. We're going to use this effect to add us from the deck to the hand, opening of the Spirit Gates. Activate opening the Spirit Gates, search you out your second copy of Dark Beckoning, which is basically just going to be discard fodder. You then get to normal summon as an addition your Samsara the Lotus thanks to Dark Beckoning Beast. You're going to use Samsara the Lotus's effect to tribute it off to special summon out Spirit. Use Spirit's effect to get you Nightmare Pain, whether you add it to the hand or activate it, or technically set it, then activate it, entirely up to you. You're then going to activate Nightmare Pain, destroy the Spirit of Yubel in order to add the Mature Chronicle and special summon Yubel from the deck. You're then going to activate the Mature Chronicle. Now you can start gaining counters off the back of this. You're then going to link Yubel and Dark Beckoning Beast together to go into your Lord Yama, and this will then allow you to add a Shayama from deck to the hand. You're then going to use Opening the Spirit Gates to discard the Shayama in order to bring back the OG Yubel, putting the first counter on the Mature Chronicle. You then use the effect of the Shayama to destroy the Yubel, summon itself back, and then trigger Yubel's effect in order to summon out the Terror Incarnate, giving you number 2. You then want to use Terror Incarnate plus the Unchained Soul Lord Yama, and this is going to allow you to get into Muckraker. You can use Muckraker's effect to discard the Dark Beckoning Beast, and this is then allowing you to bring back the original Yubel again. At this point you are Fiendlock, but doesn't make any difference because you're now going to be on Mature Chronicle number 3. You then use the on-field effect of your Unchained Soul of Shayama in order to target a card you control, destroy it, and then you can destroy a spell trap on the field. Now obviously you don't want to be doing that, but you're just going to destroy the Yubel. In doing so, Yubel's effect will now trigger again because old cards are not once per turn. Special a Terror Incarnate from hand, deck or graveyard, so you get to bring back another Incarnate, which is now going to put you on 4, which is very, very nice. And you're also then going to be able to chain your Unchained Soul Lord Yama to bring back the original Yubel, putting you on 5. You're then going to remove the 5 counters off of this one to search yourself out your Super Poly and set that. And then what you want to do is your last remaining action is you're then going to use your Unchained Soul Lord Yama and your Terror Incarnate or your Yubel. Well, you could leave the Terror Incarnate, it doesn't matter as long as you leave one of them, and go into a Rage. So now, of course, keeping in mind you still have the 3 cards left in the hand, so you've definitely got that discard off of the back of your Super Poly. If you did use Opening the Spirit Gates or the Shayama effect to destroy the Nightmare Pain, and this is really important, if you needed that discard, you could destroy this, and then you can use the Opening the Spirit Gates because you control a level 10 to add this back to the hand, so you guarantee you've got the discard fodder for your Super Poly, which is really kind of cool. I like that. So as it currently stands, obviously the idea is that your board has got a Rage that can then technically link fuse with one of your opponent's monsters. You've then got the ability of Super Poly to use Yubel and then all of your opponent's monsters if you want to. This is obviously going to go into SP Little Knight, and you're just going to build from there. You've got the 3 cards in the hand. You've still got Recursion off the back of the Opening of the Spirit Gates and the Nightmare Pain for the next turn around. So you can bring back Spirit of Yubel with Opening, destroy it with Nightmare Pain, and then build and build and build. Really enjoy the deck. I like the way that Yubel kind of works. I definitely feel that there's more experimenting to do with the deck. I definitely think there has more options and more angles to kind of provide. And I can't wait until we get the new support in Legacy of Destruction, even though we've only just got this Phantom Nightmare stuff, because then we get a 1 card that loops us straight into Samsara the Lotus. So you've just got so much more consistency with the deck. It's crazy unreal. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you do have any questions, by all means, please put them in the comments down below. I will be more than happy to answer them for you. But for now, as absolutely always, stay safe and, of course, happy dueling.